In this video, we are going to look at the coordinate plane. The coordinate plane is really just a way to organize inputs and outputs. It's a way to show visually relationships between variables and numbers. There are some things you need to know. The central question would just be, how do you plot points? Points on the coordinate plane. And there are some, before we get into that, you really need to know some definitions about what this coordinate plane is and how it's organized. So the origin is right here, right at the middle. And I'll try to label these things, although it might get a little bit messy because I might run out of room. So I apologize for that. So the origin's right at the middle. That is the coordinate 0, 0. It's where everything begins. The x-axis goes left and right, and y goes up and down. So x and then y goes to the sky. We can put this in x, or we can actually say x-axis and then y-axis here. And then the direction would be, these values over here are positive. So if you go to the right, it's positive. And if you go to the left, it's negative. If we go up, it's positive. And if I go down, it's negative. So if I go right and up, then both things are positive. And so because of that reason, we call this quadrant 1, where both things are positive. And then what's maybe a little bit counterintuitive is the way we measure angles in math. And this is not necessarily related. You don't have to know this for this lesson or this video, but it kind of relates to why we number the quadrants we do. But angles, if I measure angles, we measure them by default counterclockwise. So we would go this way if we were talking about angles. We would say everything rotates in this direction. And so kind of for that reason, we say, well, quadrant 1 is here. And so that makes, if I go this way, it's quadrant 2. If I go down here, it's quadrant 3, and we do use Roman numerals typically for this. And so 1, 2, 3, and this makes over here quadrant 4. And then, excuse me, what's even more interesting than that is the signs of the points in each of the quadrants. And if you can start making this connection to the fact that if you know where a point is, you know the signs of the x and y coordinate, it's going to be really helpful in this class and down the road as well. So here everything is positive. So we'll just do positive, positive. Here I would go left, so I'd be negative x and then positive y, because you go up. So this would be negative, positive. Here we go left, which is negative, and down. So everything's negative down in quadrant 3. So we'll go negative, negative. And here we go right and then down. So it's positive and then down for negative. So this is positive, negative. Now, it's really easy to mess up your signs. It's really easy to confuse your points and go the wrong direction. So even if this is something you've seen before, something you've done before, maybe you even really understand it, it's worth practicing this because it is a place where people make mistakes. And the more you practice something, the fewer mistakes you make. So let's start by giving some points. And so when you do this, typically you just write A and then like the name of the point, and then in parentheses the coordinates of the point. And remember, x is first, and then y. So we'll say y is second. So first x, then y. So here, and you may need to number these coordinates or the x-axis if you can't tell. But so I go start at 0, and you go right 2 and up 2, and you are on the point A. So this would be 2, 2. Okay, you can also check, while I'm in quadrant 1, both of my signs should be positive because signs are a common mistake. Okay, and those points are the same, so maybe that's not too interesting. Let's go to point B. Point B, to get to point B, always start with your pencil at the origin or your finger and actually place it there. Don't just think I'm there. Actually put your finger there. And then remember, you have to go left and right first. We're going to count over to 4, or negative 4, I should say. 4 to the left, negative 4, and then up 2, and I am at point B. And think of this as especially if you're having trouble, like visualize yourself in the plane. Like think about you standing on the plane, and as you count to point C, how would you walk to point C? Now there's a lot of different ways you could walk, but say I said you could only walk left or right first, and then you can walk up or down. Well, what would you do? Well, you would walk left 2. Okay, so that's -2, and then you would walk down 3, and you would be standing on C. So -2, -3. And so that is 1 point. And the other thing to start to notice is that these two numbers are giving you 1 point. So each of these numbers kind of work together to create this 1 point, or to locate this 1 point. And then we'll go to D. D, start at the origin and walk to the right. So we're going to walk over 4, and then you walk down 3. So it'd be 4, -3. And then point E, let's see, we'll leave just point E right below here. Would be right 1 and then down 4. So it'd be 1, -4. Okay, and then go ahead and pause the video and try to plot these. When it says describe the location, that just means name the quadrant. And we're going to label these with the letter. So we'll label these with, and typically use a capital letter for a point. So we'll use a capital letter for each of these. So A, -3, 0. So, and notice it's two things, but you only have one ending location. So start at 0, 0. We go left -3, and then up or down 0. And so you are just right here at A. And this is this is not in a quadrant. Right? This is in between quadrant 2 and 3. And so the best way to describe it is on the x-axis. Okay, B, let's see, I'll change a little bit of the color here. B is 1, -4. So go over 1, but don't put a mark there. You're not marking that. That doesn't have any kind of location yet. You have to go down 4 first. So go over 1 and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and there is point B. So be very careful that you're not putting a point until you get to the up or down part. And then also remember, you go left and right first. So -4. And if you've paused the video and done all these, it's very likely that you will go up or down first instead. So just watch out for that. -4, -3. So you start at 0, go left 4 because x comes first, and it's left, and then down 3, 1, 2, 3. Do not put a point right here. That's not a thing. This doesn't exist. That's a different point altogether. But point C is down here. So remember, you got to do 2 things to get 1 point. Oh, we forgot our location here. So B was in quadrant 4, and C is in quadrant 3. And we're going to go a little quicker through these next few. So 0, 2, go left or right 0 and up 2. And go ahead and pause the video if you need a little more time. And this is on the y-axis. 2, 3 is right 2 and up 3. That's point E. And do not put that point in between. That's not there. It's not a thing. That's in quadrant 1. And then -3, 4. Start at 0, 0. Go left 3 and then up 4. And then you can put your point, and that is at point F, and that is in quadrant 2. Okay, and then let's kind of put this together with some functions. So what is a function? A function is where every input has exactly one output. Oops, output. Started to say point. So I was thinking about points. So if you have this function here, and you're told this is a function, then for each of these numbers that I plug in, I should only have one output. Okay, so this is, we're just going to plug in these values. So plug in -4, -2, 0, 2, and 4 in for x. Remember, domain is the x, and range is the y. To organize our work, a common strategy is to use an XY table. And that's how we're going to graph this, is with an XY table. And so we're going to plug in -4, and we'll do this off to the side here. So we plug in -4. You multiply, and you can use a calculator for this too, but you multiply -4 times 1/2 is +2, and +1 is 3. Okay, then plug in -2, and you start looking for patterns too. So here we multiply, and we get +1, and then +1 is 2. Okay, so here I went up 2 on the x's, and I've gone down 1 on the y so far. Okay, well, let's see this. Let's see if it holds for 0. When I plug in 0, I get 1. Okay, so my pattern's holding. So when I plug in -2, and you can do this, I'm not going to do it here, but you should get 0. We plug in -4 or +4. Oops. Plug in 2, you get 0. And then plug in 4, the pattern will continue. You get -1. Your domain is given to you. Your range is all of these values. And it might be good to write it. If you write it, normally you do the smaller numbers first, so you would like reverse it basically. And to graph it with this domain, these are just points. So because we're told -4, -2, 0, 2, 4 is the domain, so we're only plotting these points. So now pause the video, plot these points. We have a point, this is getting a little bit crowded here, but these points here. So see if you can plot those, and then kind of look and see what it looks like. Okay, so -4, 3 would be left 4 and up 3. -2, 2 would be left 2 and up 2. And do not put that middle point there. There's no point here. You go -2 and then up 2. 0, not left or right at all, and then up 1. Right 2, up or down 0, and then right 4, up or down -1. And so you have these points. Now we're not going to connect these yet, although it's kind of foreshadowing into what you'll do soon. But notice how these look like a line. And so this equation gives us this linear looking function or linear looking pattern with these points.